This is Colin Digit. I'm live in the DigitsClub, and today I got Bill here from Miners of Kadenia, the new game coming up, the first launch on the Hypercent launchpad. Very exciting. That's how we got in touch, actually. That's how you got on our radar. Could you give us a small introduction about you, the thing you're building, and how the journey has been so far?
Of course. Nice meeting you. First of all, pleasure being here. I'm Dor. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Miners of Kadenia, also known as MOK, as all of our community members have started calling us. And as you said, we're the first GameFi project building on Kadena. And we actually started building this around end of last year. And the entire idea was, how do we build a project that's going to give Kadena exactly what it is that it's missing when it comes to DeFi, infrastructure, actual utility, but also be sexy enough so that it will attract users from outside Kadena as well.
Right.
That's important. About me, most of my experiences in management, sales, specifically within the fintech area. We have a pretty large team. We're currently around 13 core team members, but we also have some agencies, some freelancers that are working for us for very, very specific roles, just for efficiency. And that is it about us. We're extremely excited to be launching, and we hope that everybody is going to enjoy the things that we're doing.
I think it's great. It's the first GameFi, like you said, it's quite needed, right? Because I feel like we have been exploring Kadena as a community as a whole, right? There's amazing things happening over there, but it's definitely everybody pulls back to Kadena as being basically the main USP, right?
Yeah.
While the projects are now coming forward at a rapid pace, showing that, you know, the blockchain is one thing, but good projects or companies building good projects is the other thing, right?
Definitely.
Why did you specifically choose Kadena? Because then we get Kadena out of the way. Or I assume it will come back multiple times, but
it will come back multiple times, I promise you. But the idea is this: we didn't really choose Kadena. We were investors in Kadena, and my partners always told me, listen, we got to build a crypto project. We got to build a crypto project. And my answer was always categorically, no. I don't want that. I don't want the headache. I don't want to be dealing with A, B, C, D, E. No, we're not doing that. And then we came to Kadena. And when we came to Kadena, everything changed, because we saw that all of the reasons that I said no on Ethereum, on Solana, on Binance Smart Chain, they did not apply anymore in Kadena, right? We have
what were some kind of examples what those things were?
Oh, of course. First of all, strategy, right? If you're building right now on Ethereum, you're a drop in the ocean. And for you to succeed, you got to have massive backing by hundreds of VCs that ultimately take 80, 90% of your project. I don't want to do that. I want to build something by myself and have it by myself. Second thing is technology, right? If we're building anywhere else, either gas fees are going to be insane, or the blockchain will turn on and off every now and then. And that's not something I want to do, right? And third thing is actual infrastructure, NFT utility, and all of those, because in Kadena, we got Marmalade, which is a pretty awesome NFT standard. Marmalade allows us to be building in very, very, very specific ways to create a protocol in which true NFT ownership, but also true NFT utility actually exists. And that's by far the most important thing to us.
Is that because looking at what you just mentioned, why would, for example, because we can cross the blockchains off the list, right, on the well-known problem that you mentioned, and they might solve it in the future, they might not. Why, for example, wouldn't you go for something like Polygon in that case?
Simple. Polygon is okay on several degrees, right? But Polygon, to an extent, is kind of saturated with projects, but it also doesn't have the community and the force behind it that Kadena has. One thing that I did not mention is that Kadena is an infinitely scalable proof of work blockchain. And that was something that mattered to us extremely, because I'm not a big fan of proof of stake blockchains, right? We wanted to make sure that the consensus mechanism behind it is something that is gonna be sure to drive the security of the protocol in the next several years. And I did not feel comfortable doing it anywhere that is not proof of work.
Fair enough. I mean, I've been in endless debates on proof of stake versus proof of work. I'm not into the tech at all on my behalf. We're on the money side of things, right? But it's always an interesting conversation, you know, the different insights and major companies making major moves on both sides of the equation, right? So there must be always like a good argument left, a good argument right. When you would look at like Kadena, and then let's take one step down, because we have obviously a lot of knowledge with all the projects we talk about on Kadena. What made you choose like Hypercent if we take a step down? Because there's, you know, it's their first launch, which is, it's always a huge thing. Could be huge, but at the same time, it's the first launch. All the eyes from the entire Hypercent community, but also, you know, other launchpads on the Kadena blockchain, other launchpads in general, everybody will focus in on Hypercent, and you're basically their trophy. So in my opinion, from an external point of view, I would say they will do everything they can to make the launch amazing, because it's their first thing. And but at the same time, you give them all your trust. How does that feel? What did you think about that?
Simple. It has nothing to do with Hypercent, the same way it has nothing to do with me personally, right? Or Kadena for that matter. It's just a matter of approach. I personally believe that if you do something, you do it right, or you don't do it at all, right? When we decided to be building and we saw Kadena, when we saw this is a place that we want to build in, we knew that this would be a risk, both because it's a niche blockchain, B, because it's a bear market. And again, we started building almost a year ago. Right? But we knew we're heading into a very, very difficult market sentiment, even then, right? You mentioned before that you are an investor, so am I. I don't really know too much about the tech, but my developers do. And I know that if we want to be building something good, we must look at the tech, because only good tech will allow us good utility, which will guarantee the future value and longevity of the project. Sure. So when it comes to Kadena and MOK and Hypercent, it's the same exact thing. If you do something, do it right. And when we saw Hypercent, we saw the model that they're building. We said, this is amazing. This is good. This is the first launchpad we've ever seen. And we've seen a lot. And it fits exactly with our philosophy and with our principles. Do we care that it's a risk? No, because if you're doing something good, you might as well, you know, risk.
And there will always be risk, right?
Yes.
I mean, any
high risk, high reward, right?
Exactly.
But I don't think it's the high risk, because in this specific case, the guys are amazing. We're very good friends. We're seeing everything they're doing. They have sick developers, honestly. So we have no doubts about this launch going extremely smoothly.
What about relative to other launchpads, right? Because we've spoken with Hypercent many times. There could have been other choices. I know specifically for Kadena, there's not many launchpads, and even cross-chain pads that would like do that.
You got two offers.
Yeah. So why did you put your focus on Hypercent compared to the other one or other ones? I know there's one building as well. You know, there's obviously different things you would take into consideration, I assume.
So you got 3 launchpads on Kadena. Let's start with Back Alley. Back Alley is a permissionless launchpad. I'm not a big fan of them for several reasons, right? But also they're a permissionless launchpad. And I'm not going to do an IDO in a permissionless environment, because I'm doxxed. Everybody knows who I am. So I'm basically putting myself, the team, the company at a risk of a lawsuit, right? And that's not something that I'm going to do, because then the project itself is screwed. And the second two are KDL and Hypercent. Now, both of them are great. Both of them are amazing. It's just that Hypercent specifically, we love their product much more, because we see KDL and we see a launchpad, but we see Hypercent, we see a launchpad that is doing everything in their power and much more to make sure that the sale itself is conducted in a very, very fair way towards everybody. Does that mean that the product is more complicated? Yes. Does that mean that the product is more elaborate or trickier? Yes, but at the end of the day, you finish the launch and you don't have 100 holders, right? Or 500.
Yeah.
You got 1,000, you got 2,000, you got 3,000.
Yeah.
Yes. And to me, I don't want whales controlling MOK. And I'm saying that as a whale myself. I'm a whale in a lot of investments in Kadena, and I know what it's like that if I right now want to dump everything I have, I can drop the price in certain assets by 40, 50, 70% even on some of them. I don't want to be in that position, and I don't want anybody else to have that position.
Would you ultimately be able to control that, or are you solely referring to pre-TGE sales?
Pre-TGE.
Because as soon as the TGE happens, somebody could just go on the DEX and swipe all the paper hands their tokens.
Well, not necessarily, because let's say right now, we raise $850,000. Somebody right now wants to go and buy for $1 million worth. He can do that. The price action is going to be insane. It's going to skyrocket the price. That's obvious, right? But what will happen because of that? A lot of people will sell. A lot of people will take their money. And the guy ultimately will be left as a sole holder of almost nothing. That's not how you manage an economy. So I don't think it's going to be worth it for anybody else, right? But ultimately, the idea is there are things you cannot control. There are things you can't control.
Yeah. 100%.
So the TGE, the pre-TGE IDO sale, that's something we can't control. And if we have an option of doing it fairly in a highly distributed way without whales, we will do that instead of being in a position that we're just allowing many whales to exist. Did
you have a conversation with Hypercent on how many participants they're going to expect?
Yes, definitely.
Are you willing to give us a nudge?
Of course. I mean, when it comes to whitelists, we have distributed about 400 something whitelists alone, right? And then when it comes to Hypercent, I'm assuming there are more than 2,000 people that are holding Hype, right? So it's a fair assumption. At a minimum, we're going to have 1,000 something people participating.
Well, I mean, like if the race is 800K, right?
850, yes.
So I mean, the allocation is amazing in that case.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even need to say that there's no need for whales, because everybody's like if you're familiar with Launchpads in general, and like our audience has probably one of the highest expertise on the Launchpads. I mean, allocations of $25, $45. Here you would be getting like an insane allocation for your efforts. And I mean, that's obviously the opportunity. When we did the Hypercent IDO ourselves, right, with our entire community. That went great, quite smooth. It was one of the first openings on the DEX, right, coming out. So that was already a good experience. And now, I mean, it's great. We spoke before about the risk of having smaller blockchain, but this is obviously the other side of the equation, where the allocations for investors can be huge. And you're saying like no whales, but I mean, if I would get like even a $2,000 allocation, I think that's like, for us, that's already like whale moves, because in the IDO space it's so unheard of.
Yeah, but everything is pretty much relative. Like taking the example, Blue Zilla Launchpads. You want the highest tier, put in $500,000, $1 million. Sometimes it was higher, I remember. And the allocations still are incredibly small. And the vesting is so long that you just have continuous dumping action, right, on the token. And right now, because everything is so new, everything's so fresh, just opportunities exist, right? And if you invest for the long term and you got conviction, you're gonna do well, because it's like this. Every single time we're looking at something and we're saying, how did I not buy it when it was $1, right?
Exactly.
Well, when it was $1, nobody was there. Nobody was paying any attention to it. So it's no surprise. Even if you were there, you were saying, hey, why is it so? Everybody is a genius looking back, right?
Sure.
So yeah, right now we're in a position that we're bootstrapping this economy. We're bootstrapping the blockchain towards actually building something awesome. And I'm happy because of that to be doing our part.
Well, it should be. But you have a lot of good answers. Let me hit you with some more difficult questions.
Go ahead.
If you don't
The
mind.
most difficult questions would be best.
Yeah, all right, awesome.
Is this the old version of the website, I think? Oh, we made a bit of an upgrade to the website. So you might want to do a hard reset on the website itself.
Let me just go incognito, because if I would reset my cache, then it locks out all my super important
stuff.
I don't know if that works, even the incognito.
Oh yeah, it did work.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the new screen. Can you see it?
Yeah, you just have a button for staking over there.
Oh, all right, perfect. Yes. I want to ask a question about this team overview, actually.
Definitely.
Because obviously I did the video on MOK, and then through my research, I look at the patterns, right? I've seen thousands of these websites in all my reviews. I want to know about Avi. What's his role in this whole thing? Because he was on the LinkedIn pictures, which I liked, or the Medium post where you have like your journey. I think you should keep doing that. That was awesome, where you can see the office and everything. But of course, I get these guys are like in the regular team. My assumption would be that he's the guy funding the project. Is that right, or am I wrong?
No, I'm the guy funding the project.
Ah, okay, too bad.
But you're close. You're close, actually. Avi is one of the founding members, right? And within time, when we were building MOK, we saw that there was less of a role for Avi than it was for like other positions. Because when we started building MOK, we did not expect it to get to where it is right now, right? It became a massive operation, right? Now, imagine you're starting by building a project. You're thinking you're going to do something small, something nice, something cool. Suddenly, a month later, you understand, wait, we got this, right? Let's recruit some more people. So the environment actually changes. Because the environment actually changes, the responsibilities of decision-making also increase. Okay, so in this specific case, I've made a decision that Avi needs to drop down from his previous position as a chief financial officer, okay, move a bit to the side and act as an advisor. Avi basically is a wealth manager and a financial advisor by profession. He knows what it's like to be managing money, overlooking money, basically doing actuary work, right? But in this specific case, because of how it is that we grew, it was my personal decision that it's better for us to deal with these specific financial matters with people that are slightly more experienced with crypto.
Fair enough. And would you bring him back when it's on a bigger scale, where you have like more roles to choose from?
Oh,
or
no.
Would you just keep him as an advisor?
He never left. He never left. Avi is still part of the team, but he is part of the team as an advisor and not part of the team as, you know, a core member. That means certain questions that we got to have some financial consult on, Avi will definitely have his input. But because he is a founding member, he is still here within the team itself, right?
Right.
Whether or not in the future there will be a more active position, I have no idea. I'm guessing so, right? It's just that running something like this is an extremely delicate operation. So we want to make sure that whoever is responsible in these specific matters is the right man for the job.
Sure. Yeah, the question basically comes from that usually the advisors are from external parties because they have the judgment relative to actually not being involved in the company, right? But if I would assume that if he's a co-founder, there's some kind of equity there, and then if he's advising on his own project, then he's I just wonder what he's advising.
Conflict of
finance, basically. No,
so
not per se. It's not all that serious, but it's just like a finance role more so.
Definitely. And finance, as you know, is something that's incredibly important, right? Especially every single company that deals with crypto that has its own balance sheet needs to have a very, very clear and concise model to risk management, how to manage money, how to take care of money, how to make sure that the proper distribution of allocations, of payments, and all of those, how everything is being conducted properly, right? But specifically, Avi is also a big fan of NFTs. He spends his entire days in Discord watching NFTs.
Discord OpenSea.
Pretty much, yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, that was good. That's at least good to know. I think that's interesting for everybody because the relation between founder and advisor, those two sentences here, is just a little highlight. That makes sense. Then we go up a little bit. Well, here we have the overview of the game, right? So the first thing that I noticed, basically when I was looking into it, this looks very similar to the map of DeFi Kingdoms, right?
Yeah.
Of course, I think we can understand. One of my favorite things in the entire world as an entrepreneur is to take something that's already working and then make it better, right? That's the easiest way. I mean, I think everybody in his entrepreneurial career wants to start something from scratch, and then we understand that pioneering is a lot harder, and we can pioneer on a moving train. It's a lot easier. You can still be a pioneer, but things are moving. It's different, right? It's definitely not the same. I looked at the concept. The leveling up of the miners is obviously one of the similar patterns of the what was it again? Chewbacca's? What are they called?
Capybara. Not chupacabra. Capybara.
Capybara. They look quite cool. I assume these will then be, well, I know already that they will be released as NFTs. Could you explain us on this map, right? In a short, like, we are not really into the play to earn. We will unlikely play the game ourselves, right? But from the investment point of view, it's always important to at least understand what's going on. Could you give us a little rundown of what these things are and how the core functionalities of the game work?
Of course. So before I begin, I will just say I hate play to earns. I hate NFTs. I hate a lot of things, right? So when we built MOK, we built MOK towards fixing those things. MOK isn't really a play to earn. It's an illusion of a play to earn, when in reality, it's an entire financial system behind it. I'm going to give you an example based on the areas that we see over here. In the market itself, you got a DEX, you got an NFT marketplace, you can swap, you can exchange, similar to what you call it, DeFi Kingdoms, right? The Forge is the area in which you manage NFTs, and you can manage NFTs in several ways: upgrading them, equipping them, evolving them. The Tavern itself is where your NFTs go to rest and recharge the endurance, but you also got a few nice elements over there, such as loot boxes and chests in which you can gain further items. And the mine is where you actually get your yields. And this is why I'm saying that MOK is not really a play to earn, to the very same reason why I would say DeFi Kingdoms is not a play to earn. It's a financial ecosystem that's presented as a game. Now, why is it presented in a game? For several reasons. It can be to simplify the experience of investors, but it can also be to make the transition into several DeFi elements a bit more comfortable. To give you an example, providing liquidity. One of the biggest advantages of DeFi is the fact that you're allowed of being your very own bank. But a lot of people don't understand it, or alternatively, they don't leverage it, right? So what we do is we take all of those aspects that people are extremely afraid and timid of actually attempting and participating in, and we make them so much more friendly, using awesome NFTs, using incentives within the game, and using actions that normally you would not think they are financial, but they are, right? And that's pretty darn awesome.
Interesting. Well, I never looked at it that way. I just looked at it as a game. So that's at least, now it does make sense. I don't want to admit it. Now I sound stupid.
No, as I said before,
it's actually,
as I said before, we're extremely critical about a lot of things, both NFTs and both play to earns. Why do I not like play to earns? They're not fun, and usually they're not profitable. So why even bother with the concept? Right? Just go play Call of Duty, right? And then work for an hour. It will be a much better usage of your time. Sure. But for us, the idea was, how can we aggregate an entire ecosystem into one protocol that can easily grow and expand, but can easily continue to provide incentives for individuals.
So in this case, would I need an NFT to participate? Let me not say play, to participate, or could you even participate without holding an NFT?
It depends, participate in what, right? Because one of the shiny things that we're doing in MOK is we're implementing other projects as well. You can just right now, Colin, as you are, enter the protocol, enter the DEX, swap, okay? For enter the NFT marketplace, sell another NFT or whatever, right? But certain areas within the protocol, specifically those areas that yield in-game rewards, will require you to have an NFT, because the NFT is not only your playable character, it's also a store of value. And a lot of our protocol revolves around the transition and the generation of value, and how do we actually invest it properly. To give you an example, you can right now go mine in the mines for a few hours. You come back, you see that you got rewards. And the rewards themselves can be a lot, right? They can be extremely nice, cool, awesome rewards. But let's take for an example, we got Kadena, which is our reward token. So let's say the game offers you claim right now 100 Kadenium, or lock 150 Kadenium, basically get a 50% bonus, lock it within a piggy bank NFT that's not going to expire within a year, right? But also the funds that are locked within the NFT are actually provided as liquidity in a DEX, so that itself can actually accrue more value over time.
And that's all automatic.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not automatic. It's simple, right? You finish
Doesn't
mining,
sound simple.
you go. It's not, but it is automatic on behalf of the user. You go, you claim rewards, you got two options: claim, deposit to piggy bank. You click, you sign, that's it. Why make it more comfortable than what it needs to be?
Yeah, I mean, agree. That's why the tech is great, right? I agree. I don't know much about the tech. I have a full team of, a dozen developers that are amazing at it. But it's always nice for me to at least, understand, visualize it, how these things work, because I assume many people would be on the same page. Let's say I have this NFT, right? When you say participate or play in the mine, is it like where I put the NFT there and it's just like a countdown timer of how long I want it to mine? Yeah, I don't actually have to do something.
Absolutely not. I mean, this is exactly the thing. You're not going to do anything, but you will be able to do anything should you wish, right? One of the most annoying things in crypto is the fact that it's crypto, the fact that it's a blockchain. Blockchain is annoying. Blockchains take time, right? So over here, we want to give the options to spend your time in a certain way. And this revolves not around finding a magical solution, but it revolves around going back, like ages ago, to the things that actually made us happy. So right now you're pending for a transaction to wait. A transaction takes 30 seconds, a minute. Have a little mini game while you're waiting, so the time doesn't feel like you're waiting for a transaction to finalize, right? This is supposed to be a metaverse, so why not implement an in-game chat so you can talk with other people rather than opening Discord or Telegram, right? There are a lot of things that can be done, but within the gameplay itself, again, it's not supposed to be a game. It's not supposed to be a play to earn. It's a protocol. So we do not expect people to just sit and wait for hours. We're expecting them to have a good outlet for their time. And in this case, we're providing them an end-to-end financial system that's just presented in a way that's just so much more comfortable.
Right. So if I would be able to, you could choose to log in once a day and participate, but you could also choose to spend more time there if you would want to.
Exactly. It all depends on your decision making, right? Because when you mine, you also have different options of what to mine. If you mine small nodes that have better rewards, yeah, definitely you'll make more money, but you're going to have to spend a lot of time in the protocol itself, right?
Yeah.
But also, if you're busy or if you don't have time for that, you still have your own yield generating options if you're interested in them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Give different. When you said mini games, what does that look like? Is it like Jenga or something like this, or
Jenga. What's Jenga?
it's like with a tower stack kind of thing? Maybe
Oh
it's
no, I
like
think that will be difficult to implement.
Snake or
But
something like this.
Snake, Minesweeper, you know, the dinosaur game on
All
Google.
right.
It doesn't matter. Just have 5, 10 different versions of those. Every single time you have a transaction, a random mini game pops up. Obviously, this is not the game itself, but that was just an example of how quality of life is incredibly important, right? Of
Yeah,
how
or
what
like
we
the
want to do
attention
is
span,
just
perhaps.
make life a tiny bit more comfortable for people and
Yeah,
convenient.
makes sense. You mentioned there's also a chat, right?
There
One
will
thing
be, yes.
I love about chats is the business aspect of it, because for me, it's always a fucking nightmare. What prevents people from spamming the chat with like racist garbage or dick pics or anything like this? Not that I
Well,
was planning to play the game and
well,
participate in the chat, but
it's good that you're asking that because we haven't gotten there, right? We are not yet in the position that we're building the chat or integrating the chat. But when we spoke about wanting a chat, we basically said, okay, it's possible, but we're gonna have this, we're gonna have this, we're gonna have this. Okay. So we gotta understand what do we do against that. So we got several options. A is full-time online moderators within that chat. B is creating a system in which users can upvote or downvote. And basically, if you got somebody who's spamming the chat, users in a decentralized fashion can just kick them out. That's also a possibility.
right. Or time them out, like that kind of stuff, penalty
Yeah,
system,
I
something like
mean,
that.
you're spamming, shut up, go away. You all technically, you know, you have systems that you can just plug in and they come with this type of automatic moderation, right? Almost like
Right.
Discord. You can set up bots to recognize certain things and you kick them out. We do want to keep things as decentralized as possible, right? But it's still about building something that's going to be awesome and convenient for people. So that's why we're first of all focusing on what we want to do to make people happy, and then think of how can people abuse it and how can we prevent others from
Right.
abusing
Yeah,
it.
no, I think
But
like
that can always happen.
the chat with friends, even like private chat, I mean that's great. I think that's one of the main
Not
engagement
only,
place
not
you see
only,
that. But
not only that,
if you would put
and
it like general, the thing is what I'm envisioning is, let's say,
channels.
oh yeah, maybe
You
something like
gotta
that.
have channels. You like MMOs, Colin? MMORPGs, World of
Maybe,
Warcraft, Guild Wars.
maybe.
Are you ashamed? Are you ashamed of saying that publicly?
No, but it consumed too much of my time. I spent too many years of my lives in that game.
In World of Warcraft?
Yes.
So I remember being a paladin, level 60, WoW vanilla, right? Having to go on a raid at like 3, 4 in the morning. And I remember that was the best period of my life, right? So you have a public chat, you have a guild chat, you have all of those, and all of those can be created. It's not a problem. But once you understand it, you have the option of creating a system in which one person can actually talk with another. Why not actually let them trade with each other as well, right? Right now, I see that you got an NFT and I want to buy that NFT. Why would I have to tell you, hey, go to the market, list it, and then I will go, when you can actually do an escrow trading system directly from the protocol itself?
From the game.
Absolutely.
Nice. So anybody that has any NFT in their wallet, I could just offer them something or message them with an offer.
Definitely. I mean, it's not difficult to implement, but again, that is something that we would want to make sure that is not hackable and not abused.
Sure. Coming back to the chat, my main thing is I think chat is always amazing on engagement, but the thing what you don't want is, let's say, oh, you got your daughter there and you'd be like, hey kid, look at this funny game that we're doing and daddy's actually making some money. And then it's like, hey, fuck you, bitch ass pussy, like in the chat, you know, like that kind of thing. Because the classic thing about these, if you would look at the gamers age 16 to let's say 26, it's 50% chat, 50% trolling, right? It's just they're just in the chat spamming shit and stuff. which I think can also be great for engagement, but is perhaps not as user-friendly. And then you get like the profanity filters, that kind of stuff. But let's not dive too much into the chat. It's at least good to have, let's say, advanced features, right, on the game. What would be, let's say, there must be some maturity on the game itself, right? So let's say you have double dozen NFTs, right? I put them into the mine every day. They do their little thingy. I get my in-game currency rewards. What can I do with those rewards and or other rewards that we yield?
Okay, so here's the question is, what are those rewards? Because the rewards you're getting, they're unique, they're multiple. During the incentive periods, you're going to be able to earn MOK as well, which is the main governance token that is used for everything. Usually, you're going to be earning Kadenium, which is, let's say, the reward token, but it's also a utility token that gives you access to several things, right? For example, if you want to fix a piece of equipment or you want to reach a higher rated mine in which you got better rewards, that's unlocked via Kadenium, okay? Additional rewards can be tokens from other projects on the Kadena blockchain. So you're not only earning MOK or native tokens, you can actually earn KDA, KDX, Hype, other things as well.
How does that work?
Yes.
From like, do they sponsor it or?
Two models. One model is using in-game code to market buy from revenue other assets of other protocols and deposit those assets into reward pools, almost like a reflection token. But basically, MOK as a protocol generates fees, right? Almost every single thing can be monetized. We're not going to be taking almost every single thing into our own pocket. Doesn't make any sense. A lot goes into the treasury. And within the treasury, we can decide on allocations of A goes over there, B goes over there. So for example, we're saying, let's have a DAO in which users can vote what project they want to spotlight during the next week. And let's say they chose Hypercent. We as a protocol go and we market buy certain assets and we deposit those assets into the reward pool. So now when you're mining, you're also earning other assets as well. Another option, an alternative, is already when you got projects just starting to build, we approach them, we help them in the building process, but we also allow them to integrate their project into MOK. And by doing so, A, we can get payments. Those payments don't really come to us, they come to the users itself. But consider things this way. You go, you mine in the mines, suddenly you get a token that's called, I don't know, car, for example. And you say, hey, what is this? You go to the DEX and you realize, okay, this token actually belongs to a racing game, also building on Kadena. Let's go, let's check it out. And by doing so, we're giving more exposure to more projects and creating more circulation and more turnover overall for these specific mechanisms.
Yeah, I mean, it's a genius business model that way, with the exposure for new projects, potentially free advisory roles, anything that comes along with it.
And use case.
Yeah. What about the other side of things? So let's say, how would the user get educated on all these tokens? You just said, I'm mining in the mine and then I get tokens in my wallet, right? I get tokens in my wallet all the time. And if I DEX those on PancakeSwap, my whole wallet gets siphoned.
Well, let me say, first of all, thank God we're building on Kadena, right? Let's say, thank God we're building on Kadena, because we can count on one hand the amount of tokens you got in Kadena in circulation. But the reality is, it's not that difficult, right? Going back to MMOs, you got right now a reward. You got this I symbol, exclamation mark, maybe to the right side of the reward, a bit to the top. You hover your mouse over there, and you see this weapon is A, B, C, D, E, or the same for a token. Everything can be managed. Everything can be created. Everything can be established in such a way that it is
like
as transparent as can be.
Yeah, okay,
right?
fair enough.
As
but you would educate them a little bit. I do get like a surprise element, but at the same time, you know, you mentioned user security, risk exposure before. I think specifically in crypto, I always have endless debates. I just was in a huge debate on Twitter and I decided to delete my tweets because, you know, public figure and all. But the main thing is, this was like an NFT project which got hacked, and then users participated in that mint, right? Very unfortunate. And now they want the project owner to compensate them. But I'm like, you're an investor, you dumb. If you mint off a random link, right? I understand they hacked it, but it's like, it's not, the owner cannot do anything about it because they don't own the security of Discord, right? It's like Discord thing. And of course there's like contingencies and everything, but this is like a major blue chip project. So I'm like, users ultimately, 90% of the time, they don't take self-responsibility, right? So they just put all the risk with the entity that they're working with, whatever is that the sales party or whatever. What do you think about security on Kadena? Is there like a specific party you guys work with, or is that something that's still, I don't know anything about security there or security in general,
Of course.
But do you think it's an issue?
There are a few parts to the question. Let's begin with the latest part. Security is something that's incredibly important for us, right? To the extent that I can tell you that I can hardly sleep at night with the thought that somehow potentially a month from now, a year from now, 10 years from now, my project will get hacked. I'm scared shitless out of that concept, right? So all efforts are made to make sure that everything we do is as secure as possible for our end users. The reason why I'm saying that is because I know what it is like to be in a position of accountability. And that's what you referred to in the beginning, who is responsible, right? And with this, I can say I'm responsible, not anybody else, because in crypto, too many people feel extremely comfortable saying, I'm not responsible. It's this, you knew the risk, and of course. But the reality is, everything that we can do to prevent exploits, to prevent vulnerabilities, we're gonna do. We will be guilty if there was something we could have done, but did not do, because we did not do an audit, or because we did not listen to warnings, or we did not move fast enough, because we were negligent. If you do everything right and you follow all the steps and you do not cut corners, you're gonna be fine. Maybe something bad will happen, but you will still be fine, because you can say with a clear conscience, I did every single thing I needed to do to make sure this is safe. Right?
That's basically the most important, because
yes,
in my opinion, at that point. So from this project, I think they did everything they could, right? As it could happen to any project. And the user is certainly delusional, specifically if they have been scammed, they get too emotional, they need a couple of days to calm down, and then realization sets in. No, I agree. It's one of my weekly rants when I make YouTube videos. It's the owner's obligation to deliver the highest quality product they can deliver. And that's what I think, when you briefly mentioned that, the difference between entrepreneurs with experience going into the crypto space and entrepreneurs, their first project being a crypto project. It's a huge discrepancy where the real entrepreneurs or more experienced entrepreneurs deliver a lot of value consistently, even when the market is bearish. And I remember my first project like 10 years ago, they last, they need the motivation. And when the market is bearish, the motivation is down. So everything slows down. Where the builders, they keep building because of their experience. They know markets go up and down. Definitely. It's great. It's a good example.
And when the market bounces back, we're going to be here.
And the other ones might be able to get back into it, but they likely be too late, or at least lose a lot of the momentum that they otherwise would have had. Let me pull this up, because we got a question on that, and I also think that was interesting. Tokenomics. There was a nice chart of the tokenomics.
Oh, you're not going to see the tokenomics on our website. You will see it on the light paper that we will release, I think, today or tomorrow.
What about this?
About what? I don't see
it.
Oh,
you can't see it. Okay, my bad. I'm sharing the wrong screen. Okay, 1 second. What about this?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay, perfect. The question was specifically about the Flux Node operator. So there's a question in the chat. I did some research on later on the video. So the Flux node operator, so you guys work with Flux. I don't know exactly what Flux is, but the node operators of that company have a small allocation of the token. Could you tell us what Flux specifically does for you guys?
Of course. So Flux, they have a very, very big relationship with Kadena itself. That's why we got in touch with them. At Flux, they run a decentralized computing network. So right now, you, from the comfort of your home, you can actually mine a Flux node. And what you will do, you will run the infrastructure that will allow somebody to run their app or website or whatever on the node you're running. Right now, most websites, the apps, they're hosted on, let's say, Amazon Cloud, right? AWS. Yeah. Flux is basically the decentralized alternative, right? Now, I'm not going to say that Flux is coming to replace AWS. I'm just saying it's here to complement AWS, right? Flux is an amazing company. We love them. We're actually right now even building a project together with Flux. We are going to be launching next week a limited edition NFT collection of 250 pieces of watches, actual watches branded with the Flux logo, that are backed by an actual NFT on Marmalade for proof of authenticity. And that will allow you to be eligible for rewards, airdrops, access to certain events. But the actual thing is that you actually have a real life product that comes with your NFT.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So we love Flux, and we made a decision that part of our tokenomics is going to go towards those that actually run our decentralized infrastructure, because we are big fans of having things decentralized. And for us to do that, we said, let's pay Flux every single month, because Flux is incredibly cheap, right? For you to run your website or the app on Flux, it would cost you less than $1 every month, I think, right? So instead, what we're saying—
less than $1 a month?
Less than $1 a month. Let's actually see, right? Flux.
Because even like 36-month vesting with 1% of the tokens, it's, I don't want to say neglectable, but it's definitely not as important as the other things. But it was definitely interesting to see Flux node operators. What exactly does that mean?
Oh, it's going to be much more than $1 a month. Much more than $1 a month, definitely. But this is exactly the thing. I think that many people need to put their money where their mouth is, right? A lot of people say they believe in decentralization, but they do nothing about it. Now, over here, you got thousands of people, I think over 15,000 right now, running the Flux's decentralized infrastructures, and we want to reward them for doing that. So Flux node operators that specifically run our infrastructure and the chain web infrastructure, the infrastructure of Kadena, are going to be receiving rewards from MOK, right, in the form of tokens every month.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That makes sense. When we look at liquidity, right, relatively high to what we normally see, about a 5%. It's also on a 4-month vesting. What is the reason for providing relatively higher liquidity? Is it because the DEXs are so new, or is there like a different strategy behind
it?
The
13%, you mean?
Yes.
Simple. Liquidity needs to be high. Liquidity needs to be high because you never want to be investing your money. You don't want to sell $1,000 worth of assets and see a 10% price impact, right? The second reason is because we're going to be listed on several DEXs, but also several centralized exchanges as well, right? Going from that assumption, we know that liquidity matters, and liquidity is important because we want people to be able to invest and to trade safely without worrying too much about price action. But also because we already have a lot of plans that are not revealed. They will be revealed in the future. And when they do, we will need that liquidity to be able to be listed at those specific places.
Right. Okay, makes sense. So it's not to be used in one go.
Oh, absolutely not. That's why we got vesting.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, marketing normal. What's the What's the reasoning? So I get that the staking obviously would be important, but is it so important to offer almost 30%? How does that work? Because you got your in-game rewards, of course, that's 48 months. So we're looking at quite a extremely long period, and that's significantly less than the staking rewards. How big does the staking play a role? If you refer to staking, does that include liquidity pools?
I don't understand what you mean liquidity pools for staking.
Well, if you would be like single asset staking or dual asset staking.
As in depositing liquidity?
Yeah.
So basically, the reason why there's a big discrepancy over here is because MOK is not a single asset system. We're a dual token economy. Because we're a dual token economy, and we don't need a lot of MOK to be rewarded within the game, because within the game, you're going to have other rewards, right? Like Kadena, which is actually the reward token. When it comes to the staking rewards, no, it's only the staking rewards, because rewards made via liquidity pool do not come from emissions. They come from trading fees that are achieved by actually doing a swap, right? Right now, I do a trade, I pay 0.03%, for example, of the cost of the trade. And liquidity providers, they receive that small little cut from the actual swap that was made. So that comes from tokens that are already in circulation. Those are not tokens that we must be paying out in emissions.
What about like on a, maybe I phrased it wrong. So you have your single asset staking and your dual asset staking, right? Let's say MOK to KDA, right? That usually has a higher APY than your single asset. Would that come from these staking rewards, or is that different?
No. Basically, we got two systems that work extremely differently. One is staking and the other is providing liquidity. The act of providing liquidity revolves around taking dual tokens, providing them within an LP for others to be able to treat them as a bank. They deposit A, they take out B, and so on. The balance changes, right? The reasons why we usually have such a high LP, such a high APY within liquidity pools is because what do, you provide two tokens, you take the LP tokens, but you also stake the LP tokens. So from one side, you're taking interest from the trading fees. On the other side, you're taking interest from the staking rewards. So it's still only the same thing.
That is the staking rewards.
No, the LP tokens, they accrue trading fees, but the LP tokens can also be staked technically, but it's the same thing as if you would just take the money and stake it. It's the same exact thing.
Right. Okay. So then rephrase the question. The staking rewards are only for single asset staking MOK tokens.
Yes.
So why is there such a high percentage? Is it specifically to cut the supply and then slowly dilute it? So you initially cut the supply by offering favorable APY, and then over the 48 months, because obviously you need to reach a fully diluted supply. If I would review these economics, as I do consult on tokenomics lately, I would say you guys dialed in everything, and then you did the staking rewards last, and then it just like the leftover was just added to the staking rewards. Is it like that?
Absolutely not. Tokenomics are incredibly important. And I'm happily able of saying that I don't understand tokenomics as much as I would want to understand tokenomics, because I'm not good with math. What we did is about 4 or 5 months ago, we actually hired a company, a Swiss company, to be consulting us with the matter of tokenomics. Incredibly smart people. And during this entire process, we've been building the concept of what do our tokenomics need to be according to our financial models. How do we see distribution? How do we see emission models? And I'm talking to you about months and months and months of back and forth, figuring it out on how to actually make it happen in a very, very healthy way. And we took everything into consideration together with what is the status of the market right now. knowing the status of our market right now, knowing that we're doing a raise within a very, very difficult period of the market, we also knew that we wanted on one side to incentivize early buyers and early stakers, but we wanted to have a staking model and an emissions model for our general tokenomics that is going to be sustainable over a long period of time. So when we actually launch our staking, which will be about a month after TGE, our users will have the highest APY on the Kadena blockchain. About 47% gained yearly before the actual next halving schedule, right? The halving is not necessarily going to be a 50% cut. It can be a 25, 30% cut. We still have some deliberations about that within the next week, I think. But overall, it's incredibly important to have the math incredibly solid.
No, it makes sense. But if you say like you're going to offer 47% APY, that I assume on a single asset pool that's stable, right? It's not more stakers, APY doesn't go down.
Of course, yes, stable.
Yeah, stable. So then, you would need a lot of rewards because it's super incentivizing. But yeah, from a company point of view, that's what we're interested in. I think cutting the supply by having them lock up tokens is obviously a very important move. And you did touch upon the market conditions. So let me not drill you down too much on these staking rewards, but it does make sense now. Why?
No, feel free to do so.
No, as long as it makes sense for us, like the thing
is, it will be easier for me to explain it with an Excel sheet because you have so many different math models and so many different simulations that need to be considered in something like this. And the reality is that you don't know always everything. For example, I was incredibly surprised because I thought we would offer a 15% APY. Suddenly our consultants are coming to us and they're telling us, no, let's go all the way up to 60%. And I'm like, what? How? And it turns out that in the matter of tokenomics, you have so many different factors to consider. For example, models of similar projects with comparisons over different periods of time and statistical deviations. These are things that must be considered towards actually building something good and sustainable. So I'm happy. I think we got it right.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
No, but I mean, like the most important thing is that like things were thought about, and of course, Kadena quite unique, similar projects taken into consideration. Let's hop to the other one, which is the advisors, right? So normally we look sub 5%, 9% here. Is this taken into consideration any future advisors you might sign, or is it for your current collection of advisors?
No, it's taking into consideration our current advisors. Within the partnership side, where's partnerships? Partnerships.
Yeah, right here.
Within the partnerships section, we actually have 1% that's put aside for future partnerships.
Okay.
But
how many advisors are there in this group?
Too many. I mean, it depends how we consider advisors. I mean, look, the team allocation tokens is 10% and the advisors is 9%. For us to be in a position to offer advisors almost as much tokens as we take the team, there's only one thing that can be inferred from that, and that is those are good advisors. And these advisors, they span a lot of different ranges, right? From one side, we're talking about gamification advisors. On the other side, financial advisors, legal advisors, but we're also talking about crypto advisors on a high scale of being able to tell you, this is what you need to do A, this is what you need to do B. Oh, you want to contact that person? Let me find you a way of getting in touch with him. Basically, you're only as good as your friends, right?
Sure.
And thankfully, we got some very good friends in our team.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So you reduce basically, normally we see like 5% advisors or less, 20% team, and then your team took a cut to be able to offer the advisors their expertise work.
Yes. But I will want to say, because it's something that's incredibly important, and I personally do not think that the team's allocations is the team's profit. The team allocations needs to be the team's incentive, right? Like the bonus to actually aspiring to build. We are counting on MOK having a considerable revenue model that's going to be made with in-game protocol fees, swap fees, exchange fees, everything. And that will be the main way of us paying the team for the work that they're doing. So for that reason, I wasn't too concerned with lowering the team's allocation to only 10%.
Right. And looking at the team, was the project thus far bootstrapped, or did you get in some like pre-seed capital from investors?
No, everything is fully self-funded. Thank God. Thank God.
Yeah. Well,
I'm
on
saying,
one side, on the other side, it's a big commitment, right?
Well, I'm saying thank God, because to fund the building of MOK, and MOK is not cheap, a 13-man team is not cheap, right? I actually had to drain my retirement portfolio, which was mostly Anchor Protocol. So I'm happy. I'm happy that we did that.
I can imagine. Good choice. Well, it's like so I've always bootstrapped all of my businesses, right? And even like we built the Digits brands in like the last 10 months to 36 people, right? Also bootstrapped. So definitely it's like a lot more stressful, chaotic route, specifically the initial self-funding months, right? We did achieve revenue quite quickly, so we were able to accelerate everything. But I think it does show, I always ask that specific question because VCs take a lot of influence, and the vision, they cloud the vision of or they support it too much. You know, they push the entrepreneur or they pull the entrepreneur. Either way, I've never heard of a perfect experience when VCs got on board and everything was amazing. You know, it's normal. They invest money. They also want to reduce their risk. But at least good to know that happened.
I'll say that. We have a lot of experience as investors, right? Investment is what I do on a daily basis. And I knew that nobody is going to touch my baby until we're ready for that, right? And the moment in which we're ready is the actual IDO. But because we have a significant experience with funds, wealth management funds, and so on, we know how difficult it is to be accountable against VCs, right? It's never easy. And I can also say that being in full control of your protocol or of your company, right? Because we got to separate. On one side, we got MOK as a token, as a protocol. And on the other side, we got the actual company, okay? Right. That 100% of the company's equity is owned by me and two others, right? It's a good feeling, because you know that you are in control of the things that you want to do, and you're not going to move until there's a good enough offer on the table.
Yeah, that makes sense. Good vision. When we look at the last two aspects, the IDO community sale, that's the Hypercent race, right? What is IDO Vault? What does that mean?
That is also Hypercent. Hypercent got an extremely cool model in which, if you're a project that is doing an IDO with Hypercent, they're also going to be taking some tokens from you for the IDO vault, which basically means people can just routinely stake their hype and be getting tokens from all projects within the IDO vault. So even if our IDO right now finishes and you missed it, you can go ahead, you can stake your tokens, your hype tokens, and get paid MOK on a weekly basis.
Interesting concept.
Pretty cool.
I should have looked into Hypercent more before I threw all my money into it.
No need. I already told you.
Okay, awesome.
Now you know everything you need to know.
That makes sense. That makes sense. That's good. And you mentioned, you know, this is obviously a good write-up of the basics of the tokenomics, but you did mention there would be a light paper at a later stage.
Today or tomorrow, we're actually just right now waiting for the final revision, some spelling mistakes that had to be fixed.
Always important. Professional outlook. Man, I'm excited. Let me just pull up the Hypercent pool just for everybody that hasn't seen it yet. Then I don't have any more difficult questions for you. I didn't think it was that difficult today. It's, man, you are well versed. I feel like you can talk about any topic for hours. I would just ask you questions about all kinds of
Uh,
other stuff.
well, it depends. Only if we're talking about something interesting.
Fair enough. Here it
I
is.
mean, we have been in crypto for a long time, so we got to know what we're talking about every now and then.
Sure, I agree. That's fair.
Oh, purple.
850 on the race. The tokens are there. So one question that I had, I think I said it wrong in the video. The pool opens on the 30th. Is that correct? That's tomorrow.
No, the registration only starts on the 30th.
Okay.
And that means, KYC, picking your allocations, and all of those.
Okay. And when is the last opportunity to sign up?
Last opportunity of signing up, I think, I don't know, actually. It might be like a day before the sale actually starts. And the sale starts next week, around the middle of next week.
Oh, all right. So that's
you got time.
That's basically what I wanted to know, because obviously, as soon as I participate, I will spread the love and tell everybody that I'm going to make some moves while everything is bearish. I mean, kind of have to, right? Support you guys, support Hypercent. And, I wouldn't participate if I didn't think it would be a good, fun opportunity. But it's definitely interesting to see how the Kadena ecosystem as a whole worked, because the Hypercent launch itself was really smooth from the Hypercent side, but the KDEX side was kind of buggy still at that time, and they did promise that they would fix that. Of course, it's like I think it was the first token there as well. So every single time to check in. And I one thing I have to say, Dor, the Kadena community is crazy. Like, it's so niche down. It's so tight compared to what we see on other blockchains. Every time we post something about Kadena on Twitter, on YouTube, it just blows up. People are just like, yeah, we know it's like this and that, and did you see this? And like, extremely helpful, but still, realistic of the capabilities and status of the project. It's not like, oh yeah, this is going to be the next Bitcoin or the next Ethereum. Everything is still quite down to earth, which I think for like the matured investors is just a lot more reasonable than your relative conversation on the Binance Smart Chain.
Definitely, because unlike other blockchains, this is a very, very functional, goal-orientated blockchain. We know what we want to do. We know what we want to achieve. And like you said, it does feel like the community in Kadena is somehow segregated from the bear market, right? It's like the emotions happening outside haven't touched us. Or like, we don't care about that, because we are focused on building some pretty nice, awesome stuff. And yeah, we're definitely looking forward to see what's going to happen.
It can be maintained as it grows. That's usually on scale, these things are harder to maintain, right? The FUD
as a team or as a blockchain?
As a blockchain. I mean, once you go from like into the millions of users, you got the good projects, you got lesser projects. It's inevitable. But I think it's like the base culture. So your initial 10,000, 25,000 hype boys, right? Your initial hype crew. There's always that key 100 that will just keep the hype alive during any moment. If they like build a solid relationship with them, even like ambassador programs, that type of stuff, I think that's never a bad thing, right? And it's just very noticeable, like you said, when everybody's bearish. And then I call them like the Kadena cheer crowd, right? They just come by and I just see, we tweet out, like 10 times a day. And then it's like one post is just like, damn, like every post gets like 30, 50 likes. And then you just like, Kadena just takes off. It's like everybody sharing it because they actually want to consume, they're not passive. And that's also a good thing.
Yeah, because we're looking for that growth. And that's why we're being so helpful and supportive in almost every single new project that we see pop up, because we want to see them grow and succeed as well. We're only going to make it happen together.
For that, that's the way to go, I think, with so many different things happening. Anyway, I have no more questions. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything. No?
Yeah, I mean,
you did make me want to come visit Amsterdam, because honestly, I love Amsterdam.
Let me know once you're here. I mean, it should be in the next 2 months while the weather's still good.
It's not going to be
like
in the
when I
next 2
say it's
weeks.
good, it's raining half the time, right? But
I
if you like
love
the
rain. I
cloudy
love rain.
weather,
Rain makes me happy. But no, it's not going to happen.
October, November for the
No,
rainy
maybe
periods.
December. Maybe December. Oh, actually, we're getting married in October, so maybe November might work.
Honeymoon
Maybe.
vibes.
Honeymoon vibes, yeah. But no, we've been to Amsterdam for like so many times, right? That maybe for the honeymoon itself, we'll need to go somewhere else. What's your favorite restaurant in Amsterdam?
Let me see. So the thing is, I don't like the city center of Amsterdam because of the fucking tourists, right? So that's like the whole thing. And it's like Amsterdam is like one of the worst cities. When I'm in Berlin or something, it's not that bad. But like Paris and Amsterdam, they're just, the city centers are just like messy with like the culture. There is nothing like the culture anywhere else in the country.
Of course.
But I like Ron Gastro. It's like, it used to be above Hudson's Bay, like Indonesian cuisine. It's not mad expensive. It's a little bit more pricey, but they have like dancers and singers. And it's like basically all the guys with suits after work. They tend to go there. That one is quite nice, but I also like the smaller ones, like the Italian ones. Like there's so many small shops, but the problem with these things is you go there, and then like a year later they're gone. There's a very nice Mexican restaurant, very authentic, near Leidseplein, so close to Bulldog. if you know that. Is it close to Holland Casino? But it's like a little Mexican restaurant there, and that's like small. They have like 10
I remember
tables.
the pancake place, like this place that has some amazing pancakes. Oh, and Tol Dorado. Wow, just an amazing restaurant.
Yeah, you like
amazing meat.
The pancakes, we don't eat pancakes in restaurants. We cook the pancakes ourselves, right?
I mean, come on.
Like a natural treasure. If you go into the grocery store, that's like 2 meters with just pancake batter mixed, all the different ones.
It's not the same thing, though. It's not the same thing.
But it's good having cooked for you. I think lately the sushi issues. There's also a good restaurant which is like more like with dim sum and stuff. It's called Full Moon Garden.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like it's quite touristic. But it's like a normal thing. You just go there for lunch and then you fuck off. It's not like a huge experience. But I like Ron Gastro in terms of the experience. If you go to like Harbor Club, like these type of things, which is more like a luxury thing, it's like full of posers. It's not really.
I'm not going for experiences. I'm going for food. I'm a very simple man. I don't want a lot in my life other than food, to be honest. Yes, and good hotels. Hotels are also good.
Oh yeah, hotels. I never been in Amsterdam. In terms of like, obviously because the lips are fucking close, makes no sense.
Makes sense.
But there are some, like, I think W Hotel is nice. Yeah, W Hotel is nice. And there's some other ones, but it's like I just don't like the Dutch culture in terms of like staff and stuff. And they still have a nice experience. But when I was like in Singapore and stuff, the 4 or 5-star hotels there have like a way different experience. Right, it's different culture. But where are you from, sir?
In Israel.
Oh, how is the food must be amazing, right? It's like the
food
hummus,
is amazing. No, I have no idea how that happened, right? But the food in Israel is like amazing. It's like insane. I have no idea if it's the produce or the cooks, but food in Israel is so good, right?
You guys have a lot of fish as well, no?
Of what?
Fish?
Yeah, I guess so. We got a good and healthy amount of fish.
Being like a big thing, it's oily as fuck, right? The thing is like you put half hummus, half oil, stuff like this.
Half hummus, half what?
Oil?
Oil? Oh yeah, they put in a lot of oil and tahini on top.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like when you talk about food in Israel, you talk mainly about hummus, but the reality is every single good restaurant in Israel has amazing food. I don't know why, but like sushi restaurants in Israel are much better than sushi restaurants anywhere else. I have no idea why, right? But maybe it's just a matter of palates. If you've never been, you got to come. I'll show you some good restaurants.
We also have a lot of food poisoning, because most of the restaurants are dirty.
Yeah, I love good
experience. I think the conferences are nice. Travel over the world, shake some hands, eat some food. I'm also a big food fan in that case. But yeah, the whole experience. Once the MOK is live and published, then it's your time to celebrate, right? You can accelerate, but at the same time, think about all the other opportunities in life.
Not really. No, that's not going to happen. We are now already opening up a round of recruitment for a lot of people, right? We're going to scale up the operation massively. So the next couple of months, we're going to revolve mainly around tech, right? Mainly around finalizing our contracts, sending them to be audited. And while we're doing that, training new people within MOK, because we're going to have a lot of work to do, and this work will have to be done. And we don't have right now the privilege of resting too much.
So it's you, your laptop, and maybe a little bit of food.
No, it's the developers, their laptops, and me on the phone screaming at everybody, why isn't shit getting done, right? I'm not a developer. I have no idea about any of those. But ultimately, if you want to have something done, you don't need to be a developer. You got to find yourself good developers. You got to know how to manage, give them what they need, support them, motivate them, and all of that fancy crap.
And we'll take that as the final lesson. Dor, thank you so much. I appreciate your transparency, your clear answers. That really helps understanding what your project is about. And I think you did great. We will follow the launch live. So I'll make sure to document that as well for you. And if you're interested, I'll send you the video with all my crazy thoughts when it does go live.
By all means, it would be awesome seeing it. And thank you so much for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Of course. Thank you so much, Dor. Good luck with the sale. And we'll talk in the future, hopefully. Have a good day.
Will do. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.